The sun hung low over the Arizona desert, casting long shadows across the cracked earth. It was a quiet morning in 2047, or at least it had been until the sky lit up with a streak of fire. A massive object tore through the atmosphere, leaving a trail of smoke and chaos behind it. The ground shook violently as the object slammed into the barren wasteland, kicking up a cloud of dust that could be seen for miles. People nearby froze in shock, unsure if what they were witnessing was real. When the dust settled, the truth became clear. A starship lay embedded in the sand. Its sleek, metallic surface gleamed faintly under the sunlight, but it was battered and scarred from its violent descent. The ship was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Its design was alien, with smooth curves and strange symbols etched into its hull. There were no visible windows or doors, just an eerie sense of perfection that made it look like something out of a dream or a nightmare. News of the crash spread quickly. Within hours, scientists, military personnel, and reporters descended on the site. Barriers were set up, and helicopters circled overhead. Among the crowd of curious onlookers stood Daniel Carter, a tall man with sharp features and a thoughtful expression. He worked for NASA's research division, specializing in aerospace engineering. To him, this wasn't just some random event. It was a chance to study something truly extraordinary. Daniel pushed his way through the throng of people, his mind racing with questions. What was this thing? Who built it? And why did it crash here? He reached the edge of the restricted zone, where soldiers were keeping everyone back. "I'm with NASA," he said, holding up his ID badge. After a brief exchange, he was allowed inside. Near the ship, Rachel Monroe was already hard at work. She was a linguist who specialized in decoding ancient and alien languages. Her curly brown hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her hands were covered in dirt from examining the ground around the vessel. When she saw Daniel approaching, she gave him a small smile. "Looks like we got ourselves a mystery," she said. "More than a mystery," Daniel replied, his eyes fixed on the ship. This could change everything. For days, teams of experts poked and prodded at the mysterious craft. They scanned it, photographed it, and tried every trick they knew to open it. But nothing worked. The ship remained stubbornly sealed, its secrets locked away. Some began to think it was useless, a broken piece of junk left behind by whoever had built it. Even the government started losing interest, redirecting resources elsewhere. But Daniel refused to give up. He spent hours walking around the ship, studying every inch of it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he noticed something odd. Along the base of the hull, there were faint lines etched into the metal. At first glance, they looked like decorative patterns, but when he examined them more closely, he realized they formed a kind of circuit board. It was intricate, almost organic in its design. "Rachel," he called out, waving her over. "Take a look at this." She joined him, crouching down to get a better view. "It's beautiful," she murmured. "But what does it mean?" "I don't know yet," Daniel admitted. "But I think it's important. Maybe even the key to figuring out what this thing is capable of." As they stood there, staring at the alien markings, neither of them realized how much their lives were about to change. What seemed like a useless wreck to everyone else was actually a treasure trove of possibilities waiting to be unlocked. And Daniel and Rachel were determined to be the ones to uncover its secrets. End of document. The days following Daniel and Rachel's discovery of the strange circuitry along the ship's hull were filled with both excitement and frustration. The markings they had found seemed to pulse faintly when touched, as if alive, but no one could figure out how to activate them. The team worked tirelessly under the scorching desert sun, setting up equipment and running tests. Yet every attempt to interact with the alien technology ended in failure. Some began to whisper that the ship was nothing more than a broken shell, abandoned by its creators for a reason. But Daniel refused to believe that. He spent hours sketching the patterns, comparing them to diagrams of Earth's most advanced machines. One night, While sitting alone in his tent with a cup of cold coffee, he noticed something peculiar. The symbols weren't random. They repeated in sequences, almost like a code. It reminded him of binary systems used in computers, but far more complex. His heart raced as he realized this might be the key to unlocking the ship's secrets. The next morning, Daniel shared his findings with Rachel. She studied the sketches carefully, her brow furrowed in concentration. "These look like instructions," she said finally. "Maybe not just any instructions, but steps to turn something on." "Exactly what I was thinking," Daniel replied, his voice tinged with hope. "If we can decode these patterns, we might be able to power up the ship, or at least part of it." Rachel nodded, though doubt lingered in her eyes. Decoding an alien language wasn't easy, especially when they had no frame of reference. Still, she dove into the task with determination, spending long hours cross-referencing the symbols with fragments of text they'd found inside the ship. Slowly, pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Meanwhile, the rest of the team grew restless. Emma Lewis, the robotics specialist, paced back and forth near the ship, muttering about wasted time. "We've been here for weeks, and all we've done is stare at walls," she complained one afternoon. "What if this thing really is useless? What then?" Chris Harper, the physicist, tried to reassure her. "Even if it doesn't fly, the materials alone are worth studying. This could revolutionize energy production or transportation." But his words did little to calm the growing tension among the group. Then came the breakthrough. Late one evening, Rachel called everyone over. Her face glowed with excitement as she pointed to a series of translated phrases. "I think I figured out what this section does," she said. "It's talking about energy generation. This ship wasn't designed for travel. It was built to produce power." The revelation stunned the team. If true, it meant the alien craft wasn't a mere relic. It was a prototype for something extraordinary. Humanity had been struggling for decades to find sustainable energy sources, and now, lying right in front of them, was a solution beyond their wildest dreams. Daniel immediately suggested testing Rachel's theory. Using portable scanners, they mapped the area where the circuits were located and identified a central node that seemed to act as a control hub. With shaky hands, Chris connected a small device designed to mimic the electrical signals they believed the aliens used. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft hum filled the air. Everyone froze. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. A faint glow emanated from the ship's core, illuminating the darkening desert. It wasn't bright enough to blind, but it was unmistakable, a sign of life returning to the once dormant vessel. Emma let out a whoop of joy, breaking the silence. "You did it," she exclaimed, clapping Rachel on the back. "This changes everything." But Daniel remained cautious. As much as he wanted to celebrate, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were only scratching the surface. The ship's newfound glow was mesmerizing, but it also raised new questions. Why had the aliens left such powerful technology behind? And what else was hidden within the mysterious craft? As the team gathered around the glowing core, their faces lit with awe and curiosity, Daniel knew one thing for certain. They were standing on the brink of something monumental. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they were ready to face them, together. **** End of document. ***. The discovery of the glowing core had ignited a fire within the team. For the first time, they felt like they were making real progress. But with that progress came a new set of challenges. The ship was far more complex than anyone had imagined, and understanding its systems required skills beyond what any single person possessed. Daniel knew they couldn't do this alone. They needed help. And not just any help, but people who could think outside the box. That evening, under the dim light of a portable lantern, Daniel gathered the team for a meeting. "We've come a long way," he began, his voice steady but serious. "But we're only scratching the surface. If we want to figure out what this ship can really do, we need more expertise." Rachel nodded in agreement. "He's right. We've been working hard, but there's too much here for just 5 of us to handle. We need fresh minds, people who can look at this from different angles. Chris leaned forward, his arms resting on his knees. Who do you have in mind? Daniel pulled out a small notebook and flipped it open. He had already spent hours thinking about who to bring in. First, Emma mentioned robotics earlier. She's brilliant, but she's stretched thin trying to manage everything herself. I know someone who might be able to help her, Liam Torres. He's an expert in AI-driven robotics and has worked on projects twice as complicated as this. Emma's eyes lit up at the mention of Liam. I've heard of him. His work on autonomous drones is incredible. If he's willing to join us, we could make some serious headway. Good, Daniel said, jotting down Liam's name. Next, we need someone with experience in advanced materials. This ship's hull is made of something we've never seen before, and figuring out how to work with it is key. I'm thinking of reaching out to Sophie Blake. She's a materials scientist who specializes in alien tech. Rachel smiled. Sophie's perfect. She's meticulous and doesn't give up easily. Exactly what we need. Finally, Daniel turned to Chris. And then there's you. You've been amazing with the energy systems, but even you could use another pair of hands. What about bringing in Matt Rivera? He's a fusion engineer and one of the best in the field. Chris nodded thoughtfully. Matt's great. I've collaborated with him before. He's got a knack for solving problems no one else can crack. With their plans set, the team split up to contact their potential recruits. Within days, Liam, Sophie, and Matt arrived at the site, eager to see the alien ship for themselves. Each brought their own unique energy to the group, and their arrival breathed new life into the project. Liam immediately dove into studying the ship's internal mechanisms. This thing is like a giant robot, he said, running his fingers over the smooth surface. If we can figure out its programming, we might be able to control it. Sophie focused on analyzing the hull material. Using high-powered microscopes and chemical tests, she uncovered surprising properties. It's self-repairing, she announced one afternoon, her voice filled with wonder. The material reacts to damage by regenerating itself. Imagine if we could replicate that. Meanwhile, Matt teamed up with Chris to study the glowing core. Together, they mapped its energy output and discovered that it operated on principles completely foreign to human science. This isn't just power generation, Matt said, shaking his head in disbelief. It's like the core taps into another dimension entirely. As the expanded team settled into their roles, the atmosphere around the camp changed. The sense of isolation and frustration gave way to collaboration and excitement. Everyone worked late into the night, fueled by curiosity and determination. Even the harsh desert conditions seemed less daunting now that they had more hands and minds on deck. One evening, as the group gathered around a makeshift table to review their progress, Daniel looked around at the faces illuminated by laptop screens and lanterns. They were exhausted but hopeful, united by a shared goal. For the first time since the ship's discovery, he allowed himself to believe they might actually succeed. We're onto something big, he said quietly, his words carrying weight. Something that could change the world. Let's keep pushing forward. No one disagreed. They all knew the road ahead would be difficult, but they also knew they were ready to face whatever came next, together. End of document. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The expanded team worked tirelessly, their efforts fueled by the promise of uncovering the alien ship's secrets. But progress came with its share of setbacks. The ship's technology was unlike anything they had ever encountered, and every step forward seemed to uncover 3 new obstacles. Liam Torres spent hours trying to interface Earth-made robotics with the ship's systems. The alien tech resisted conventional methods, rejecting any attempts to connect external devices. Frustrated but undeterred, Liam began experimenting with unconventional approaches. One night, while examining a fragment of the ship's circuitry under a microscope, he noticed something peculiar. a faint pulse of energy radiating from the material. It wasn't constant. It seemed to respond to touch or pressure. "Guys, I think I'm onto something," Liam called out, his voice cutting through the quiet hum of the camp. Everyone gathered around as he demonstrated his discovery. When he pressed a small probe against the circuitry, the pulse grew stronger, almost like the ship was reacting to his actions. "It's alive in a way," he explained. "This thing doesn't work like our machines. It feels more organic." Sophie Blake, meanwhile, was wrestling with the ship's self-repairing hull. She had managed to extract tiny samples of the material for testing, but replicating its properties proved nearly impossible. "It's not just repairing itself," she said during one of their evening meetings. "It's adapting. Every time I try to cut into it, the material changes its structure to resist me." Despite her frustration, Sophie refused to give up. She began brainstorming ways to mimic the material's behavior using nanotechnology, hoping to create tools capable of working with it instead of against it. Matt Rivera and Chris Harper faced their own challenges with the glowing core. While they had mapped its energy output, they still couldn't figure out how to stabilize it. The core's power surged unpredictably, sometimes dimming to a faint glow, and other times flaring so brightly that it forced everyone to retreat. During one particularly intense flare-up, Matt shielded his eyes and muttered, "This isn't just energy. It's alive too. Like it has a mind of its own." Amidst these struggles, tensions began to rise. The team had been working non-stop for weeks, and exhaustion was taking its toll. Emma Lewis snapped at Sophie after a failed experiment left them both covered in metallic dust. "We're going in circles," Emma shouted. "Every time we think we got a handle on this thing, it throws us another curveball." Rachel Monroe stepped in to mediate. "We knew this wouldn't be easy," she reminded them gently. "But look how far we've come. We've decoded parts of the language, figured out the core generates energy, and even learned the hull repairs itself. That's incredible progress." Her words helped ease the tension, but the pressure didn't disappear. Funding for the project was running low, and government officials were growing impatient. A representative from NASA arrived one afternoon, demanding updates. "You've had months," he said sternly. "What do you have to show for it?" Daniel stood firm, his tone calm but resolute. "We've made breakthroughs that could change the world," he replied. "But science takes time. If you pull the plug now, you'll be throwing away humanity's best chance at understanding alien technology." The representative left without making promises, leaving the team uneasy about the future. That night, Daniel called another meeting. "We need results, not tomorrow, but soon," he said. "If we want to keep this project alive, we need to prove it's worth the investment." Inspired by the challenge, the team doubled down on their efforts. Liam finally succeeded in creating a prototype interface that allowed Earth-made robots to communicate with the ship's systems, albeit briefly. Sophie developed a special coating for their tools that reduced resistance from the hull material. And Matt and Chris managed to stabilize the core's energy output for a full hour, a record-breaking achievement. As dawn broke over the desert, the team gathered outside the ship to celebrate their small victories. Exhausted but proud, they looked at the glowing vessel with renewed determination. They still had a long way to go, but they were closer than ever to unlocking its full potential. "We're doing the impossible," Rachel said softly, gazing at the ship. "And that's exactly why we can't stop now." No one argued. They all knew the journey ahead would be tough, but they were ready to face it, together. End of document. The breakthrough came on a chilly morning when the desert air was crisp and the sky painted in soft shades of orange and pink. Matt Rivera and Chris Harper had been working late into the night, tweaking their stabilizing device for the glowing core. They were exhausted but determined to keep going. For weeks, they'd struggled to control the core's unpredictable energy surges, but now something felt different. "This might actually work," Matt said, his voice tinged with cautious optimism as he adjusted the final settings on their machine. It was a bulky contraption, patched together from spare parts and alien-inspired designs. Wires snaked across the floor, connecting it to the core. The team gathered around, holding their breath as Matt flipped the switch. At first, nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the air, growing louder and steadier. The core's glow brightened, casting a warm light over the entire ship. Everyone stared in awe as the energy stabilized, not flickering or flaring, but radiating evenly like a miniature sun. "We did it," Chris whispered, his face breaking into a wide grin. "We've got stable power." The team erupted into cheers, clapping each other on the back and exchanging hugs. Sophie Blake wiped tears from her eyes, while Liam Torres let out a triumphant shout. Even Emma Lewis, who rarely showed emotion, looked visibly moved. This was more than just a scientific achievement. It was proof that their hard work was paying off. But the celebration was short-lived. As they examined the stabilized core, Daniel Carter noticed something alarming. A series of symbols on the ship's control panel began to flash rapidly, glowing brighter with each passing second. He pointed it out to Rachel Monroe, who quickly pulled out her notes on the alien language. "It's a warning," she said after a moment, her voice tense. "I think activating the core has triggered some kind of security protocol." Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. The ship emitted a high-pitched whine, and the air seemed to crackle with static electricity. Everyone stepped back instinctively, unsure of what was happening. "Is it going to explode?" Emma asked, her voice rising with panic. "No, I don't think so," Daniel replied, though uncertainty lingered in his tone. "But whatever this is, it's big." Suddenly, the ship's hull shimmered, almost like liquid metal rippling under sunlight. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden chamber inside. The room was small but filled with intricate machinery and glowing panels covered in alien script. At the center stood a pedestal-like structure, pulsing with the same energy as the core. Rachel stepped forward cautiously, her eyes scanning the text on the walls. This looks like a message," she said slowly. "It's talking about coordinates, specific points in space." "Coordinates? You mean like a map?" Liam asked, his curiosity overriding his caution. "Exactly," Rachel confirmed. "And there's something else. It mentions an invitation." The word sent a ripple of unease through the group. An invitation from whom? And to where? Daniel approached the pedestal and studied it carefully. "Whatever this is, it's important," he said. "Activating the core must have unlocked this chamber. Maybe it's meant to guide us somewhere." Matt frowned, crossing his arms. "Or maybe it's a trap. We don't know who or what left this ship here." Chris nodded in agreement. "He's right. We need to be careful. But ignoring this feels wrong too. What if it's our chance to learn more about the aliens who built this thing?" As the team debated, Sophie quietly examined the glowing panels. She traced her fingers along one of the symbols, feeling the faint vibration beneath her skin. "This isn't just a message," she said thoughtfully. "It's alive, like the rest of the ship. It's waiting for us to respond." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Responding to the signal carried risks. They all knew that. But turning away felt impossible. This discovery was bigger than any of them. It wasn't just about understanding the ship anymore. It was about understanding humanity's place in the universe. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "We can't ignore this," he said firmly. "If we want answers, we need to follow the trail. But we do it together. And we stay prepared for anything." No one argued. Despite their fears, they all felt the pull of the unknown. The ship had given them a glimpse of its potential, and now it was offering them a path forward. Whether it led to salvation or danger, only time would tell. End of document. The days following the discovery of the hidden chamber were filled with both excitement and unease. The team spent hours analyzing the glowing pedestal, and the alien coordinates etched into its surface. Rachel Monroe worked tirelessly to decode the symbols, her fingers flying across her laptop as she cross-referenced them with fragments of text they had found earlier. Slowly, a clearer picture began to emerge. "These coordinates point to a location in deep space," Rachel announced one afternoon, her voice steady but tinged with awe. "It's far beyond our solar system, somewhere we've never explored." Daniel Carter leaned over her shoulder, studying the data on her screen. "Do you think it's where the ship came from? Or maybe where its creators are?" Rachel hesitated before answering. "I'm not sure, but there's more." She pointed to another section of the script. "This part mentions a gateway, something that can transport us there." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. A gateway to the stars sounded like science fiction, yet the evidence was right in front of them. The team knew they couldn't ignore it, but the risks were undeniable. Traveling to an unknown destination could mean encountering hostile forces, or worse, disappearing forever. Liam Torres broke the silence. "If this thing can open a gateway, how does it work? Is it some kind of portal?" Sophie Blake chimed in, her tone cautious but curious. "It's possible. The energy patterns from the core match what we expect from a wormhole generator. If we activate it, we might be able to create a stable passage through space." Emma Lewis frowned, her arms crossed tightly. "But what if it's unstable? We could tear a hole in reality, or get stuck halfway." Chris Harper nodded, rubbing his temples. "She's right. We're talking about technology way beyond anything we understand. One wrong move, and we could destroy ourselves, or the planet." Despite their concerns, no one suggested abandoning the idea. The allure of the unknown was too strong. After all, the ship had already transformed their understanding of energy and materials. What else could it teach them? Matt Rivera spoke up, his voice calm but firm. "We need to test it first. Start small. See if we can generate a localized field without opening the full gateway. That way, we'll know if it's safe before we commit to anything bigger." The team agreed, and work began immediately. Using the stabilizing device they had built for the core, Matt and Chris modified it to channel energy into the pedestal. Sophie and Liam collaborated on designing a containment field to prevent any potential instability. Meanwhile, Rachel continued decoding the alien script, hoping to find additional instructions or warnings. Days turned into weeks as the team fine-tuned their preparations. Tensions ran high, especially when minor malfunctions caused brief power surges. But slowly they made progress. Finally, the day arrived to test the gateway. Everyone gathered around the pedestal, their faces pale but determined. Daniel took a deep breath and gave the signal. Matt activated the device, and the core roared to life, its glow intensifying until it filled the entire chamber. The air shimmered, and a faint hum vibrated through the walls. Then, with a flash of light, a swirling vortex appeared above the pedestal, a swirling tunnel of stars and colors unlike anything they had ever seen. The team stared in stunned silence. It was real. The gateway was real. "We did it," Sophie whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. But their wonder quickly turned to alarm when strange signals began emanating from the vortex. Rachel's computer picked up a transmission, faint but unmistakable. "It's coming from the other side," she said, her eyes wide. "Someone, or something, is responding." Daniel stepped closer to the vortex, his heart pounding. "This changes everything," he murmured. "If we go through, we'll be making contact with whoever sent this ship." The team exchanged uneasy glances. They had dreamed of meeting extraterrestrial life. But now that the moment was here, fear crept in. Still, they knew they couldn't turn back. Humanity's future depended on taking this leap. "We don't have to decide tonight," Rachel said softly, breaking the tension. "Let's analyze the signal and prepare for whatever comes next." As the vortex pulsed gently before them, the team felt a mix of dread and exhilaration. They were standing on the edge of the unknown, ready to step into the greatest adventure of their lives. End of document The discovery of the vortex and the mysterious transmission sent shockwaves through the team. For days, they debated what to do next. The signal was faint but deliberate, repeating a sequence of tones and patterns that Rachel Monroe worked tirelessly to decode. "It's not random," she explained during one of their late-night meetings. "There's structure here, like a language, maybe even instructions." But decoding wasn't the only challenge. News of their progress had leaked to government officials, who descended on the site like vultures circling prey. A group of military personnel arrived unannounced, led by General Harris, a stern man with sharp eyes and an even sharper tone. He wasted no time making his intentions clear. "This technology belongs to the United States," he declared, standing in front of the glowing vortex. "You've done good work, but now it's time for professionals to take over." Daniel Carter stepped forward, his jaw tight with frustration. "This isn't just about one country. It's about all of humanity. If we hand this over to the military, it'll become a weapon. That's not why we've worked so hard." General Harris didn't back down. "You're scientists, not diplomats. You don't understand the stakes. Whoever sent this ship could be watching us right now. We need to protect ourselves, and this tech is our best chance." The argument grew heated, with voices rising and tempers flaring. Sophie Blake finally interrupted, her calm demeanor cutting through the chaos. "Fighting won't solve anything. If we want to keep control of this project, we need to prove we can handle it responsibly." Her words struck a chord. The team realized they couldn't rely on reason alone. They needed to act. That night, Daniel called a secret meeting under the cover of darkness. "We can't let them take this from us," he said, his voice low but urgent. "If we wait too long, they'll shut us out completely." Rachel nodded in agreement. "We have to move fast. Decode the signal and figure out where it leads. Once we know more, we'll have leverage." With renewed determination, the team doubled their efforts. Liam Torres and Emma Lewis worked together to enhance the stabilizing device, ensuring the vortex remained open long enough for further study. Matt Rivera and Chris Harper monitored the energy output, making adjustments to prevent another surge. Meanwhile, Rachel focused on deciphering the transmission, piecing together fragments of meaning from the alien script. Finally, after hours of painstaking work, Rachel made a breakthrough. "It's a message," she announced, her voice trembling with excitement. "Not just coordinates, it's an invitation. They're asking us to come." "Who's they?" Emma asked, her brow furrowed. "I don't know yet," Rachel admitted, "but the tone feels peaceful, like they want to help." The revelation sparked hope, but also fear. Could they trust the message? Was it truly an offer of friendship or a trap? As tensions mounted, General Harris returned with reinforcements, demanding access to the chamber. When the team refused, he threatened to seize the site by force. Time was running out. "We need to decide," Daniel said, his voice firm. "Do we stay and fight, or do we go through the vortex?" The team exchanged glances, weighing the risks. Staying meant losing control of the project, and possibly their freedom. Going meant stepping into the unknown, with no guarantee of return. In the end, there was no real choice. "We go," Sophie said quietly, her hands gripping the edge of the table. "If we stay, we lose everything. If we go, we might find answers." One by one, the others agreed. They packed essential supplies and prepared for the journey, knowing it might be their last. As dawn broke over the desert, they stood before the swirling vortex, its colors shimmering like a promise. "Ready?" Daniel asked, looking at each member of the team. No one spoke, but their resolve was clear. Together, they stepped toward the gateway, leaving behind the world they knew, and heading into the stars. End of document. The moment they stepped into the vortex, the world as they knew it disappeared. The swirling tunnel of light and color enveloped them, pulling them forward with a force that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. For a few seconds, or maybe longer. They were weightless, surrounded by streaks of energy that seemed alive, pulsing and shifting around them like a living river. Sounds echoed in their ears, faint whispers, distant hums, and an otherworldly melody that made their hearts race. When the sensation finally subsided, the team found themselves standing on solid ground again. But everything was different. The air shimmered with a strange glow, and the sky above was unlike anything they had ever seen. It wasn't blue or black, but a shifting canvas of iridescent hues, as if painted by some cosmic artist. In the distance, towering structures rose from the landscape, their shapes fluid and organic, glowing softly as though lit from within. "Where are we?" Emma Lewis asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She clutched her backpack tightly, her wide eyes scanning the alien horizon. Daniel Carter took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "We're through," he said simply. "This must be the place the signal came from." Rachel Monroe pulled out her tablet and began analyzing the environment. "The atmosphere is breathable," she reported, "and the gravity feels similar to Earth's. But there's something else. Energy readings off the charts. This entire planet seems to run on the same kind of power as the ship." Sophie Blake knelt down to examine the ground beneath their feet. Instead of dirt or rock, it felt smooth and cool, almost like polished glass. "This isn't natural," she murmured. "It's engineered, like the whole planet is one giant machine." Liam Torres pointed toward the glowing structures in the distance. "Look at those buildings, or whatever they are. They're not just functional. They're beautiful. Whoever built this place has technology far beyond ours. And artistry, too." The team started walking cautiously toward the nearest structure, their footsteps echoing faintly against the smooth surface. As they approached, they noticed intricate patterns etched into the walls, similar to the symbols they had seen on the ship. The designs seemed to pulse faintly, responding to their presence. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air, growing louder as a figure emerged from the structure. It was tall and slender, its body covered in a shimmering, translucent material that reflected the colors of the sky. Its face, if it could be called that, was featureless except for two glowing orbs where eyes might have been. Everyone froze, unsure of what to do. Daniel raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "We've come in peace," he said, his voice calm but shaky. He didn't know if the creature understood him, but he hoped the gesture would convey their intentions. To their surprise, the being responded, not with words, but with a series of melodic tones that resonated in their minds. Images flashed before them, scenes of stars forming, planets spinning, and life evolving. It was as if the being was sharing its history, or perhaps welcoming them. Rachel gasped, clutching her head. "It's communicating. Somehow. I can feel it." Matt Rivera stepped closer, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "Is it safe? Can we trust it?" Before anyone could answer, more figures appeared, surrounding them gently but firmly. They didn't seem hostile, but their sheer numbers made the team uneasy. "We're guests here," Daniel reminded everyone quietly. "Let's stay calm and see what happens." The beings led them deeper into the structure, guiding them with gestures rather than force. Inside, the walls glowed brighter, revealing chambers filled with floating orbs of light and complex machinery. The team exchanged nervous glances, realizing they were stepping into the heart of an alien civilization, one that had mastered technologies humanity could only dream of. As they moved further in, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever answers they sought, and whatever challenges lay ahead, they were now fully immersed in the unknown. End of document. The alien beings guided the team through a labyrinth of glowing corridors, each step taking them deeper into the heart of the structure. The air was cool and carried a faint hum, as though the entire building was alive with energy. Despite their awe, the humans couldn't shake their unease. Every turn brought new wonders and new questions. Daniel Carter tried to stay focused, his mind racing to process everything around him. "They're showing us something," he whispered to Rachel Monroe, who walked beside him. "But what?" Rachel nodded, her eyes darting between the floating orbs of light and the intricate patterns on the walls. "It's like they're telling a story, or teaching us." As they entered a large chamber, the being stopped and gestured for the team to look up. Above them, a massive holographic display flickered to life, projecting images of stars, planets, and galaxies. The visuals shifted rapidly, showing the birth and death of solar systems, the rise and fall of civilizations, and finally, Earth itself. "They're showing us the universe," Sophie Blake murmured, her voice filled with wonder. "And us." The final image lingered on Earth, its blue and green surface glowing softly. Then it changed again, depicting humanity's struggles, wars, pollution, and resource depletion. The message was clear. The aliens understood Earth's challenges, perhaps better than humans did themselves. One of the beings stepped forward, its glowing orbs pulsing rhythmically. A wave of emotions washed over the team. Not words, but feelings of curiosity, hope, and even sadness. It was as if the being was reaching out, trying to connect on a deeper level. "They want to help," Rachel said suddenly, her voice trembling. "I can feel it. They've been watching us for a long time, waiting for us to take the first step." Emma Lewis frowned, her skepticism still intact. "Help, or study us like lab rats?" "No," Daniel replied firmly. "This isn't about control. Look at how careful they're being. They're not forcing anything. They're offering." The being extended a slender arm, pointing toward a smaller chamber off to the side. Inside, the team found a device resembling the core of the ship they had repaired. But this one was far more advanced, radiating an energy so pure it made the hair on their arms stand up. Chris Harper approached cautiously, his scientist's instincts kicking in. This could power an entire planet," he said, his voice barely audible. "It's clean, limitless energy. If we could bring this back to Earth." Matt Rivera shook his head. "We can't just take it. This isn't ours." "You're right," Daniel agreed. "But maybe we don't need to. Maybe they're offering to share their knowledge, if we prove we're ready." The realization hit the group like a tidal wave. The journey wasn't just about finding answers. It was about proving humanity's worth. The aliens weren't handing over their technology freely. They wanted to see if humans could use it responsibly. Sophie turned to Daniel, her expression thoughtful. "What if that's why they left the ship on Earth? To test us, to see if we could work together instead of tearing each other apart." Liam nodded slowly. "And now, we're here. They're giving us a chance to show we've learned something." The weight of the moment settled over the team. They had spent months repairing the ship, decoding its secrets, and risking everything to follow the signal. Now, standing in the presence of an advanced civilization, they understood the true stakes. This wasn't just about saving Earth. It was about earning the trust of beings who saw potential in humanity. One of the aliens approached Daniel, holding out what looked like a small crystal. When Daniel hesitated, the being placed it gently in his hand. Instantly, a flood of information rushed into his mind. Blueprints, equations, and designs for unimaginable technologies. It wasn't overwhelming. Instead, it felt like a gift, offered with care. "We'll do our best," Daniel said aloud, knowing the aliens could understand. "For all of us." The beings responded with a soft, melodic tone, their glowing orbs brightening briefly before dimming again. It was a sign of approval, or perhaps encouragement. As the team prepared to leave, they knew their journey was far from over. The crystal in Daniel's hand represented hope, but also responsibility. Humanity's future depended on what they chose to do next. ***End of document****. The return journey through the vortex felt different this time. Instead of fear, the team carried a sense of purpose and hope. The crystal in Daniel Carter's hand pulsed faintly, its energy humming softly as if alive. It was more than just a gift. It was a responsibility, a promise to use what they had learned wisely. As they stepped back into the Arizona desert, the harsh sunlight and dry air felt almost foreign after the surreal beauty of the alien world. The ship stood where they had left it, glowing faintly under the sun. But now it seemed less like an alien relic and more like a bridge, a connection between two civilizations. The team gathered around, their faces lined with exhaustion, but also determination. "What do we do now?" Emma Lewis asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her backpack. Daniel looked at each member of the team, his expression serious but hopeful. "We share this, not just the technology, but the message behind it. Humanity has been given a second chance, and we can't waste it." Rachel Monroe nodded, clutching her notes tightly. "This isn't just about energy or machines. It's about unity. If we fight over this, we'll prove we're not ready for it." Chris Harper knelt by the ship's core, examining the faint glow that still emanated from it. "We need to start small, build something sustainable, something that benefits everyone, not just a few." Matt Rivera agreed. "And we need to teach people how to use it responsibly. Knowledge without ethics is dangerous." Sophie Blake glanced at the horizon, her thoughts drifting to the alien structures they had seen. "They trusted us," she said softly. "Not because we're perfect, but because they believe we can grow. We owe it to them, and to ourselves, to prove them right." Liam Torres smiled faintly, his usual humor tempered by the gravity of the moment. "Guess we're going to change the world, huh? No pressure." The team laughed despite themselves, the tension easing slightly. They knew the road ahead would be difficult. Governments, corporations, and individuals would all want a piece of the alien technology. But they also knew they couldn't let greed or fear derail their mission. As word of their return spread, reporters and officials swarmed the site, demanding answers. But Daniel refused to hand over the crystal or reveal its secrets until humanity was ready. "This isn't ours to exploit," he told General Harris firmly. "It belongs to everyone, or no one." Over the following weeks, the team worked tirelessly to decode the information stored in the crystal. They collaborated with scientists, engineers, and leaders from around the globe, ensuring that every step forward was guided by transparency and cooperation. Slowly, plans began to take shape: clean energy grids, advanced medical technologies, and sustainable solutions for Earth's most pressing problems. But the team didn't stop there. They shared the aliens' message of unity and responsibility, traveling the world to inspire others. Rachel became a spokesperson, using her skills as a linguist to bridge cultural divides. Sophie and Chris focused on education, teaching young minds about the importance of science and ethics. Liam and Emma worked on developing tools to help humanity adapt to the new technologies, while Matt ensured the systems were safe and stable. One evening, as the team stood together watching the sunset, Daniel spoke quietly. "Do you think we're doing enough?" Rachel placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We're doing what we can, and that's all anyone can ask of us." In the distance, the ship stood silent, its job done, for now. But the team knew it was more than just a machine. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it came together, driven by curiosity, courage, and hope. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, the team felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had taken the first step toward a brighter future, not just for Earth, but for all of humanity. And somewhere, light years away, the beings who had sent the ship watched silently, waiting to see if their trust had been well placed. ****End of document****.